Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. It is great to have all of our viewers and supporters tune in to hear about what is happening right now in Israel. Due to the volatility and really the fluidity on the ground here in Israel, I wasn't able to have a live briefing at this moment. So I spoke with General Avivi about an hour or so ago, recorded it, and I'm going to share with you what we spoke about. I spoke with the General about updates that are happening right now in Gaza, and of course, this impending attack from Iran and what Israel is planning on doing and what we are expecting to see here in Israel. So it was a very important discussion, and I'm looking forward to being able to share it with you right now. Before I start the recording of my discussion with the General, I just want to ask a favor from everyone. Right now, as things are really heating up here in Israel, we have more viewers than usual, and more people are checking out media of all different outlets to understand what is happening in Israel. And I think that what we provide here at IDSF really gives a proper perspective on the facts on the ground, what is really happening. And if you agree with me, please help me get our information out. Please consider sharing these briefings. So if you're watching on the Zoom briefing and you have the link to register for the Zoom, consider sharing it with a friend, a family member, a local politician, people from the media, whoever you can share it with would be great. It really allows us to get the truth out there. And likewise, these briefings, once we finish them on the Zoom, they are recorded and they are sent to our YouTube channel. Many people watch these briefings on our YouTube channel. So likewise, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, please consider subscribing to our channel. Please consider sharing these YouTube briefings so that we can really bring the truth to as many people as possible. One of the points in the discussion with the General today was about a recent claim of CNN about the progress in Gaza. And that's a perfect proof in point about how CNN reports something one way and General Avivi sees it a very different way. And in order for us to get that truth out there, we really require our viewers, our supporters, people like you who are watching this, who understand that the truth that we are sharing is real, is important, and allows us to get the message out. So with that, I'm going to pull up the interview I did with General Avivi just about an hour or so ago. Here it is. General Avivi, thank you so much for joining me today to share a little bit about what's happening in this war with all of our viewers and supporters. Maybe we can start off with your general assessment about how imminent and what we could expect with this attack from Iran.
Well, I think there will be some kind of retaliation. It's hard to say exactly what. I think that Iranians are having a lot of concerns. They see the buildup of American forces in the Middle East. They see a coalition that is organizing again with Britain, with Saudi Arabia, Jordan, United Emirates. I think that they're asking themselves what will happen if they shoot massively again and they fail again. And the coalition will deal with this. And then the question will be, how will Israel retaliate? Because this is not April. In April, we were still really in the midst of the fighting in Gaza. We didn't go into Rafah yet. It was obvious that we need to focus on Gaza, and we cannot move our attention to the north or the east. We still need to be in defense, but this is not the case now. Now, we can consider being a bit more on the defense in Gaza and go on full offensive in the north or the east. So it's a different situation. It's something that the Iranians need to take in account.
Now, to what extent is Israel just passively waiting for something to happen versus potentially going on the offensive?
So definitely it's always better to be proactive and not to wait until you are attacked. And this is what I expect from the army and the cabinet, to be proactive. A war is not a tennis match where you hit the ball and then wait for your adversary to hit the ball. I mean, you have to hit all the time. You have to be proactive. And I think that if Israel sees preparations for attack, we need to be proactive and attack first. But really, the big question is not just how we foil this specific attack, but where all this is going. We have 80,000 Israelis displaced. We cannot really bring them back safely to the north without launching a full-scale attack on Hezbollah and doing a ground incursion in South Lebanon. And the big question is, when are we going to do this? Now, in a month, in 2 months? It's not clear. I can say that after visiting the Southern Command last week, if you ask the commander of the Southern Command, he'll say, I need more time. I need 2 months more to really reach the point where most of the forces can go north. But I'm not sure we have these 2 months. And it doesn't necessarily only depend on us. So this is really the dilemma the cabinet, the army need to deal with when they're looking at the overall strategy that we have been pursuing for the last 10 months. Offensive in Gaza, defense on all other fronts. Do we need to go still with this same strategy? I'm not sure. Maybe it's time to attack in the north.
And would you say whatever unfolds right now with Iran, with Hezbollah, maybe this is an opportunity for Israel to escalate things and to kind of get the job done, so to speak, as opposed to just this tit for tat, waiting for the next opportunity to fight back?
I think that definitely it can be an opportunity, providing that Israel knows what he wants to do. If there is a decision to go to a full-scale attack in Lebanon, this is an opportunity. It might be also an opportunity to really get the US more engaged and involved, and understanding that we are facing a regional global war, it's not just a local war. We see more and more forces arriving to the Middle East. I think the awareness of how complicated and grave the situation is growing. It's not only endangering Israel, it endangers also the moderate Sunni states. And I'm hoping that we might see the US much more involved and proactive in this area.
So back in April, when Iran attacked Israel, there was a great level of cooperation with the US and regional partners here in Israel. Are you able to share a little bit about what those partnerships look like right now? Are we in a better position? Is the US more engaged with what is happening? Are there regional partners like Jordan, Iraq, or even Egypt right now who would step up if necessary?
So I think that one of the good decisions that was made a few years ago in the Trump administration was to move Israel from EUCOM to CENTCOM. CENTCOM basically deals with the whole Middle East and Iran. And now that Israel is under CENTCOM, the ability to really coordinate everybody and coordinate one plan has really improved dramatically. We saw it working in April. I think that with the experience that was gained in April and with the amount of forces that are amassing in the Middle East, I expect this coalition to work even better. The idea is how we can have one picture. Everybody sees the same picture of what's going on in the sky, and then allocate the different forces to deal with the different threats and capabilities that are shot, and deal with them. I think it worked well. I think it might work even better now. So I really feel confident that Israel, and coupled with this coalition, can really defend well Israel. I'm not saying there will be zero success, but hopefully close to zero. And then really the big question is what we will do. And it's time for us to be much more aggressive, much more proactive, and move forward with the destruction of our enemies.
And in your estimate, does CENTCOM understand this is not just about defense, but offense as well? Or is the US presence here just to repel Iran, but not to attack Iran?
It's not about what CENTCOM understands. I think that on the military level, the US military is much closer to Israel's views. It's about the administration. And really, the challenge is really to get the administration to understand that there is no appeasement with the Iranians. peace in the Middle East can be achieved only through strength. If we want peace, we need to be willing to use powers. This is an era for Churchills, not Chamberlains. No appeasement will work here.
For sure. And there's been a lot of discussion in the news about Egypt and the extent to which Egypt may choose to sit this one out. Do you have any details on what you can share about the status of Egypt right now?
So I think that the main coordination at the moment with Egypt is revolving around the Philadelphia corridor. Israel is uncovering more and more tunnels. This week we saw photos of one of the tunnels, huge tunnel. We saw an Israeli military Hammer car driving in the tunnel. That's how big it is. And we understand that you cannot build tunnels like that without fully coordinated with Egyptians. So basically, if we want to be safe, we need to control this border, destroy all these tunnels, and really close this oxygen of Hamas. And definitely this is impacting what's going on inside Gaza. In Gaza, we still see Division 162 operating in Rafah. In Rafah, there are whole neighborhoods that are booby-trapped with massive tunnels inside them, not only the ones crossing to Egypt. I'm talking about defensive tunnels, huge tunnels that the IDF is dealing with. It takes a lot of time. And when I visited the Southern Command and I met one of my subordinates when I was in the combat engineers, he's now a colonel. I had one question to ask him. Do we have enough explosives? And I was happy to hear that we do. And we're constantly destroying all this infrastructure, but it's a long-term process because we need to do it carefully. We don't want soldiers to get hurt. There are many improvised explosive devices, booby traps. So this is done very carefully and very systematically, but step by step, we're destroying all this infrastructure. It's moving forward.
And what about the military capabilities of Hamas, independent of the infrastructure? I mean, are IDF soldiers still meeting heavy resistance on the ground in Gaza, or are the command capacity of Gaza of Hamas really drying up at this point?
The resistance looks nothing like the first few months. The IDF pretty much destroyed the brigades and the battalions. We see here and there terrorists emerging, trying to fight, trying to shoot. We saw some mortars being shot in the last few days. They're really trying to do a bit more because of the deaths of Ania, because of the deaths of Def. But really, their capabilities are very low. I can say that, for example, Sajaya battalion, not really battalion, they call it, what they call a battalion is like a brigade. Sajaya battalion started with like 1,400 terrorists, now it's less than 400. So in this one battalion, more than 1,000 killed. Rafah, we killed more than 1,700 terrorists. So step by step, the IDF is destroying Hamas completely. And it's moving forward. They cannot stop the IDF anywhere. The level of freedom of operation in Gaza is now very high. We saw, for example, Division 98, that a few months ago had a fierce fight in Khan Yunis against the Khan Yunis brigade, and it took a long time to conduct this fight. Now they went in, Khan Yunis, 2-3 days, did what they did, went out, not even one soldier was injured. This is the reality in Gaza. We have to remember that we managed to really bring almost all the Gazans to the humanitarian area, small area, all of them almost there, a part of 200,000 in the north. Almost all Gaza is empty. And this helps IDF to enjoy this freedom of operation in many areas where there are no citizens. And so I think things are moving the right way.
Now, I want to ask you a question, which I believe I know the answer to, but it's important to get out there. The top headline of CNN is that Netanyahu says victory over Hamas is in sight. The data tells a different story, and CNN has a whole collection of their analysis wherein they argue that the IDF is not as successful as the leadership of Israel is claiming, as you're suggesting right now. So how would you respond to that?
So, as I said, I visited the Southern Command. We had a chance for 2 hours to speak to the Southern Command commander, see the data from the military point of view, not from Netanyahu's point of view. And from the military point of view of the ground, we are on our way to victory. And it will take more time, but it's very clear where this is going. This is going to the eradication of Hamas. It's the military and governmental entity. Even if it takes a few months more, even if it takes half a year, even if we need a year, doesn't matter. They're going to be destroyed. And at this stage, because as things are moving forward, the level of fighting is less and less. It looks in many areas more like it is in Judea and Samaria. It's also catching less international attention. So we're less bothered by, the international community, and we can do the job. And there's less news because it's not as intensive as it was before. So overall, I think that we're on the right direction, providing we don't do stupid things, providing we don't leave Philadelphia, providing we don't let Gazans go back to the northern part of Gaza, providing we keep the pressure and continue to do the job. It's going the right way.
Thank you. Now, we are pre-recording this, so I can't ask you the live questions from viewers, but I know a lot of people want to know, leaving Gaza for a moment, about the Iranian nuclear program and how the entire potential attack right now in Israel's response is it all related to Iranian's nuclear program, Iran's maybe their interest in preserving their program so as not to elicit a massive Israeli response, or Israel's interest in destroying that program during this time period. Any thoughts on how that factors in?
So I think, Moshe, that you can hear me? Moshe?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I think that we have to keep in mind all the time, Iran wants to be nuclear. This is a global threat, and we cannot have the situation where Iran goes nuclear. It will change the whole region and the whole globe. So Israel has to really, really push the US and the Western society to understand that we need to do everything within our hands to prevent this. And in this sense, this war might be an opportunity. Might be an opportunity because to really destroy this program, you don't need boots on the ground. A massive attack will do the job. A massive attack that will also make Iranian regime feel existentially threatened will push back the whole program. And of course, we can hit sites where they are developing this program and set it back dramatically. And this needs to be done. There will be no appeasement with the Iranians. It's only going to work with military power.
And you mentioned boots on the ground. So looking up north to Hezbollah in Lebanon, can you foresee a scenario where Israel does not require boots on the ground in southern Lebanon?
Well, I think that following a possible massive air attack on Hezbollah, if this will provoke a chain where Hezbollah following that will withdraw by itself, I'd be happy to see that. But if it's not the case, we'll have to do a ground incursion and really push them north, north of the Litani.
Thank you, General, for taking all these questions. I know your time is very precious. One final question before we go. Many of our viewers in the States and Canada, Australia are kind of anxiously glued to the news, trying to understand what's going to happen in Israel and worried about their loved ones. And many of our viewers here in Israel are a little bit worried about going about their everyday life because they don't know when they're going to have to run to the bomb shelter or what would be. What encouragement, what suggestions do you have for all of us during this time?
I spent the last 2 days in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, in Modi'in. All the coffee shops are full of people. People are, going about their normal lives. Yes, everybody thinking about what might happen, but this is the strength of the Israeli people. They don't hide in their rooms or houses. They are not escaping. They are living their lives, and I'm happy that the army is not, giving instructions now and not interfering with everyday life. If there will be shooting, and it's also, especially from Iran, which is very far away, will take hours to reach Israel. Then people will have time to get organized, and we'll all watch, TV and see Iron Dome and Arrow 3 and all these capabilities working and dealing with the different threats. I think that we have a very, very strong society. I can tell you that lately there was a poll asking the Israelis how long they're willing to endure this war. The vast majority of Israelis said, as long as needed. We want victory. We're not going to stop until we're victorious.
That is very reassuring to hear. Brigadier General Amir Avivi, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, that was my interview earlier today with Brigadier General Amir Avivi, the founder and chairman of IDSF. Thank you, everyone, for viewing our briefing today. Thank you for all of you who have sent in questions during this chat. We will try our very best to reach those questions tomorrow. And as I began, the extent to which you can share these briefings with your family, with your friends, with anyone that you know, to allow people to really access the true information, the true news coming out of Israel, it would be so appreciated by everyone here at IDSF. So whether you share the Zoom briefings directly, whether you like our channel on YouTube and share it that way, we certainly appreciate it. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. here in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.